Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal Party has won Canada's election after a campaign dominated by the tariff war with the US, its largest trade partner. Carney called the election after taking over from Justin Trudeau, but his party fell short of the 172 seats needed for a majority government. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre conceded defeat and said his party would hold the future minority government to account. But he promised to work with the Liberals in countering US President Donald Trump's trade war and annexation threats. Let's get more from DW reporter Melissa Kent, who's reported on a number of Canadian elections. Melissa, welcome. As a Canadian and as a journalist, you've been following these elections, but are you surprised by the results?
I would say yes and no. No, in the sense that the polls have been predicting a Liberal win now for several weeks. Yes, because if we cast our minds back to the start of this year, absolutely nobody would have predicted that the Liberals would win a fourth term in office. The obituaries had been written. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party, was considered a shoo-in to become the next Prime Minister. In fact, polls had the Liberals winning with a 1% chance of winning a victory, a fourth term in office. Then we had a series of circumstances, a political perfect storm for the Liberal Party, which flipped the script. Some are calling it the biggest reversal of fortunes in Canadian political history. It started on January 6th when Justin Trudeau, his son, announced that he was stepping down. Then later that month, Donald Trump was re-elected, and his threats to Canada's economy with tariffs and its sovereignty, calling Canada the 51st state, really insulted and angered a lot of Canadians, and it sort of created this rally around the flag effect. Then Mark Carney won the Liberal leadership race. He, a complete newcomer, never having held public office before, vowed that Canada would never become part of the US, and the Conservatives never really seemed to regain their footing. Without an unpopular leader to attack, with all the anxiety and uncertainty among Canadians coming from their neighbour from the South, all of a sudden we saw the Liberal Party under Mark Carney once again a viable party in this election. You mentioned
Donald Trump there. Let's talk a bit more about him. What kind of an impact did he have on this election?
I do want to say that Canadians do care about cost of housing, inflation, crime, but I think it would not be an understatement to say that for many, possibly a majority of Canadians headed to the polls, the number one question when they were casting their ballots was who is best to stand up to Donald Trump. Mark Carney is new. He's never held public office before, but he is somebody with a proven track record when it comes to handling crises. He was the governor of the Bank of Canada in the 2008 financial crisis. He also became the first non-UK citizen to lead the Bank of England, navigated that country through Brexit. He's not a polished politician. We saw that during the leaders' debate, but he is calm. And if you combine that with his resume, I think he is the man for the moment. For many Canadians, he was the best choice. One of his slogans actually during the campaign was, "Now is the time for experience, not expertise." And I think Canadians went for that. He also used a lot of hockey slogans, which Canadians like.
It's really popular here. Yeah. So what does his election mean for ties with Canada's southern neighbour?
I think it's going to be, he's going to have a tough road ahead. We know that the US president is mercurial, flips back and forth on tariffs and policies. I think he'll have a strong road ahead. He actually spoke about that in his acceptance speech just now. Maybe we can take a listen.
America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen. But we also must recognize the reality that our world has fundamentally changed.
And we know that the two spoke by phone on March the 28th, had one phone call where Carney has admitted that Donald Trump brought up Canada becoming the 51st state. Carney has said that he is open to negotiating a new economic and security framework agreement, but that will only happen if the US respects Canada. And I would also just like to point out that it's no surprise that his first foreign trip when he became leader was to France and England. Carney has said that he's seeking to deepen ties with what he calls reliable allies, including the EU, UK, and like-minded Asian allies. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Melissa Kent, thanks so much for coming in.
Well, DW correspondent Janelle Dumalaon is at the Liberal Party celebrations in Ottawa. I asked her to describe the mood there.
Well, Stephen, I am standing here on the floor of an election watch party being held by the Liberals in downtown Ottawa. And I can tell you that the mood here is obviously jubilant. But I have to say, it was kind of funny that when the CBC, that of course is Canada's public broadcaster, called the race in favor of the Liberals, the crowd here was not so big yet. The doors hadn't been open for that long, as such a very thin cheer went through the crowd, and it ended up sounding a lot more muted than one would expect. But of course now this floor is filling steadily. People here are in a great mood, and of course they're all waiting for Mark Carney to address them. That's expected in around half an hour. Now, but you asked about reactions, and I managed to gather some in the wake of that announcement. So here's what some people here had to say.
The energy in this room is like contagious. It's very positive. So I'm very excited to be here. I'm very fortunate to be here as well in Ottawa at this time.
I think this has just been such an important election for young people like me. There's so much on the line, and so having an expected Liberal win is just really great news.
We are so happy that Mark Carney are going to be, going to make it. And yes, because he is so positive, he's so grounded, he's economist, and he's going to bring a positive change in Canada.
Well, I think it's a time to do some important work to fight, protect, and build. That's what the leader, Mark Carney, says. That's what our team is focused on, building a stronger economy, standing up against President Trump's tariffs, and getting the whole team together to do it.
You know, the party was in a position 4 or 5 months ago where things were not looking nearly this good. And the fact that despite that, we continue to fight, and Canadians show that they're willing to fight now in the face of President Trump's threats. I think that's what's important. The country's coming together, and that's what's most important of all.